Hey, I'm Kate, and this is Barbell Therapy, the podcast, where we're giving power to vulnerability. We are going to help you lose weight and reach your goals, but we're going to show you that you're not alone in how you feel while you're doing that. Let's get vulnerable. Hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Barbell Therapy. Today we're going to be diving into a fitness myth that I honestly can't believe is still around. Something that just doesn't seem to go away because there are influencers that keep making you think that it's true. You can't spot reduce fat. I know that, certain areas of your body make you feel incredibly uncomfortable. Trust me, one of mine is my stomach. I truly feel like sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, why do I look like that? And I would love for some magic to come around so I can just take the body fat off of that area. But unfortunately, that is just not possible. And there is a literal science behind it. And that is what I'm going to get into today. So I know you're scrolling through Instagram and there's this influencer that pops up and she's doing this workout. I don't even know. And she's like, do these every day, do 30 of these every single day. And I promise you won't have any more belly fat. I know that sounds incredibly tempting, but I promise you, we cannot pick and choose where we lose fat. Okay. Things would be a lot easier if we could. And I feel like I would make a lot of money by helping you do that. But the truth and the science says like it don't work that way. So in this episode, I'm going to break down why spot reducing fat is not possible, according to biology, how fat loss actually works in your body, role of genetics, hormones, and overall body composition, and where you lose body fat first, and why a balanced approach, the non-sexy answer, why a balanced approach to nutrition, strength training, and consistency is the key to sustainable results. This is not what you want to hear. I know that, but this is what you're going to hear. By the end of the episode, you're going to totally understand the science behind fat loss, and you're going to feel empowered to let go of this whole idea that you can quick fix your way out of any situation that you want and focus on what truly works. So let's get vulnerable. Okay, so the idea of spot reducing fat makes it seem that if you work out a specific part of your body, like doing crunches, which works out your abs, or doing endless amounts of squats so that you can, thin out your thighs, you're going to burn fat in that area. But fat loss just does not work that way. And I'm going to tell you why. Fat is stored in your body as triglycerides. Okay. And that's broken down into fatty acids. And that is broken down into fatty acids. And your body utilizes that for energy when it needs it. Okay. So these fatty acids, they travel through your bloodstream and they're used as fuel whenever your body needs it, not necessarily near the muscle that you're actively working at that time. The process is systematic, not localized. So even if you're working on your abs, the energy that you're using to fuel that could be coming from your thighs, right? Like it's not like, oh, I have fat mass here, so when I do crunches, I'm using the fat here, right? Like it's going to utilize the fatty acids that are most available at that time or from wherever your individual body typically tends, to do that. And I say where your body typically tends to do that because this is where your individual body and how it stores fat is largely dependent on your genetics and your hormones. So, for example, women often store fat in their hips and thighs and lower belly, where men carry a lot more fat in their midsection. These patterns are going to determine where your fat comes off in your weight loss. Again, it's not like a localized thing that we can just magically make happen. The other thing that I often hear is muscle activation and fat burn. And, again, that if we're doing squats, we're activating the thighs and therefore we're activating the fat around that. It's not necessarily true. Yes, we are actively working, the quadricep muscles. We are actively working those muscles and creating microfiber tears in those muscles to regrow and build that muscle. However, when we do that, that does not necessarily mean that we are using the layer of fat that is currently protecting that muscle, right? Like that is just not how it currently works. So when you're actively doing that, yes, there's a potential for that body part or muscle to get larger. And that is actively what we're trying to do in strength training. And a small myth I'll just kind of throw in here real quick. Just because you do squats for 1 month does not mean that your legs are going to get really bulky and muscular. I have been trying for 5 years, okay? And we're still where we are at. the whole idea of spot reducing or, getting bulky and muscular, and it being a magic thing that happens instantaneously is just like those days are gone. Like, let's stop thinking that. Okay, if we really want to get into the nitty gritty of it, there was a study that asked participants to perform hundreds of ab exercises over several weeks, but they didn't actually primarily lose fat from their abdominal region. Instead, the fat loss was distributed throughout the body based on their individual factors, right? So, like, don't just take like my actual words of science for it. Take the studies that have been done to demonstrate to you that it's not possible. And I know that it's super easy to sell, right? And to selective here, I want to lose stomach fat, so this is what I'm going to do. This is the easy way out. And this is why we haven't currently hit our fitness goals, right? And like myself included, because there's so many times that we just want to take the easy way out and it just doesn't work, right? Like the easy way out doesn't work, and it doesn't work for a reason. Okay, so I don't want to just tell you what doesn't work without giving you tangible examples of what actually does work, right? So one thing is a calorie deficit. We know this. We know that you need to burn more calories than you're actively consuming. This doesn't mean starving yourself. This means being mindful about what you're eating. And yes, this is different and individualized for everyone. And no, this is not as simple as, okay, I ate 1,000 calories today. So if I go on the treadmill and burn 1,200 calories, that means, I burned 200 extra calories. It's so individualized based on like where you currently are, because there is a potential that you're in metabolic distress, which means that 200 calories is actually going to make it worse, and you're going to store way more, and you're going to continue to reduce the amount of calories you're going to burn. So the calories that your Apple Watch is telling you are probably inaccurate for your own individual body. That's a whole other podcast that I could get into, but I know that one of the big things in the fitness space right now is that a calorie deficit isn't as simple as burn more calories than you eat. And that is true to an extent, right? Like, we do have to burn more calories than we eat to be in a calorie deficit, but the amount of calories you burn is not as simple as what your Apple Watch is telling you, because it depends on internally and so many other variables in your life and through your past history that will determine that. Building muscle also can help you reduce body fat. It changes your body composition overall, but more muscle means that we burn more calories at rest without doing anything. So someone who has a higher muscle mass, you could weigh the exact same as someone else. Twins. Take two twins, for example. If one of them has 30% body fat and one of them has 20% body fat, but they weigh the exact same amount, this isn't like hormones come into play, I know, lots of other things, but like for the basic example, they weigh the exact same amount. The twin that has only 20% body fat is burning more calories at rest than the twin that has 30%, because the twin that has 20%, it has a lot more muscle mass. Okay, so a lot more muscle mass means more calories burned at rest, because our muscle needs a lot more energy to survive, essentially. Obviously, cardio and movement is going to help you. So, I have a podcast on this. I forget exactly which episode it is, but, increasing your overall daily activity. This does not mean you have to go on 2-hour-long walks every day. Like, go outside and water your garden by hand, or go do some landscaping work outside, or go deep clean your kitchen. All of these things are movement and can get steps in while still being productive on things that you have to do for the day, right? Like, you can be productive while getting movement in. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to stop what you're doing and find time to go for these long walks. And then here's a really unsexy answer. Fat loss takes patience and consistency. It takes time. A lot of quick fixes might get you some short-term results, but they're not going to get you long-lasting results. And then you're just going to feel like, oh my gosh, there's nothing that I can do to lose weight because nothing works. It's because you keep trying the short-term things instead of the long-term things, right? So we have to create sustainable habits that allow you to feel good about your body day in and day out, and maintain your progress through everything that life is throwing at you. So while you can't choose where your body loses fat, you can focus on building strength, improving your overall health, and creating habits that allow you to feel strong and confident. So instead of chasing that belly fat loss, shift your mindset so that you're celebrating the progress that you're making to build a sustainable, healthier lifestyle that will ultimately get you to your overall goal in a sustainable, healthy way, and then be able to maintain that for years to come. And that is what I want you to take away from today's podcast, because we need to be thinking about the bigger long-term picture rather than the short-term picture. And as soon as you can apply that principle to all the areas in your life, I promise you things are going to go a lot easier. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in and being vulnerable with me today. I'd love to hear from you, so make sure you come hang out with me on Instagram at KDanFit. Let me know what you thought of this episode, or leave a review here. And don't forget, I want to cover topics that you want to hear about. Let me know what topics you want me to cover, either in the comments or shoot me a message on Instagram, and I'll talk to you soon.